So hello again, this is Mr. Derpinati. Today I will talk to you through the constellations of the 4-star Liyue characters, which is kind of unfitting since I'm in Punchdat. So continuing on, basically in 2.4, they'll be giving us a free 4-star Liyue character of our choice. So which one is the best one for your account? Disclaimer, there are once again opinions in this video, so take this video with a grain of salt. This is by no means supposed to stop you from selecting the character that you want. It is only supposed to inform and not convince. Starting off with our star chef Xiangling. So she's a free character, so I won't talk about getting her like at C0. So C1, it reduces pyro resistance, which is pretty good. C2 is basically useless since you don't use the normal attacks. C3 it boosts her main source of damage, which is good. C4 is really good, it increases the duration. C5 makes the Stove God better. And C6 is probably good for Mono Pyro, as the buff does not snapshot onto her. So I would say that if you have C2 or C3 Xiangling and you want C3 and C4 respectively, then choosing her is a good idea. Next we have Beidou, canonically one of the most powerful characters probably, and she's a pretty fun character to play as well, and it feels really satisfying when you do a perfect counter. So C1 gives you a shield with 5 seconds downtime, might be good for a shield bot Beidou if that's a build for her. C2 is probably her best constellation because it allows her burst to do so much more damage. C3 seems meh, C4 is meh, you don't use your normal attacks. C5 is good since it increases your ultimate damage, and C6 is probably good for mono electro teams since it reduces the resistance of electro. If you're at C1, C4 or C5 Beidou, you might want to get the next constellation up, but if you don't have her, there may be better options. Xingqiu is one of the best sub-DPS characters in the game, and if you don't have him already, getting him would be a really good idea. C1 probably just increases his healing a bit, and maybe his Hydro application, but I don't think it's too good. C2 makes him do more damage, and it also makes his ult longer, therefore it's really good for him. C3 makes his off-field damage better. C4 allows for Xingqiu nuke, which is really powerful, and I've seen really big numbers with this constellation. C5 makes C4 even better, even bigger numbers. And C6, basically it solves his energy problems. C0, C2, and C6 are his best constellations, so if you don't have Xingqiu, or you're at C0, 1, C2 and 3, or you're at C5, he's really worth it and he's probably the best choice for you. Next we have Ningguang, and Ningguang is a character who's pretty hard to play with, and you kind of have to have Zhongli to do so. If you don't have Zhongli or a really good weapon, then you probably shouldn't get Ningguang. Other than that, C1 is okay, C2 is a big one, it allows you to basically press EQE, and that does a lot of damage. C3 makes your ultimate better, which is pretty good. C4 is absolutely useless. C5 probably isn't as good as C3, but it's still decent with C2. And C6 is amazing since everything dies with the charge attack. So if you have C1 or C5 Ningguang, even maybe C2, she might be a good pick. Otherwise, I would probably choose someone else. Chongyun was a character that seemed really good to me at the very start of the game, and he was also who I picked first Lantern Rite. But if you don't have him, I don't think you need him. C1 is pretty useless since you don't use his normal attacks. C2 could be good, and it seems really powerful for Ito. C3 makes his ultimate nuke better, which is decent. C4, he doesn't really need more energy since his energy is only 40 with burst. C5 seems really bad. And C6 seems really good actually, it makes his nukes even better. I don't play much so I could be entirely wrong, but I think you should only pick Chongyun if you are at C5 and want C6. Next, we have Xinyan, the most neglected and probably least liked character. Her potential seems to be locked behind constellations, so if you don't have her you probably shouldn't get her. C1 seems okay, C2 seems like an important constellation, C3 is probably meh, C4 looks pretty good, especially if you want to shred physical resistance, which there aren't many ways of doing. C5 is probably good, C6 is what actually enables Xinyan to be a main DPS, and what makes her decent and actually playable. You should probably only select Xinyan if you're at C3 and you want the physical shred for other teammates, or you're at C5 and you want to play main DPS Xinyan. Now we're on my friend's account, and Yanfei's idol animation is still really good. I really like it. Anyway, I don't have Yanfei, but apparently she isn't that good at C0, so if you don't have her, maybe she isn't worth getting. C1 seems to be the bare minimum to play Yanfei, since Catalyst charge attacks are all ridiculously high at 50 stamina, so you probably don't want to play Yanfei if you don't have C1. C2 seems pretty good. C3 I have no clue, I don't even know what her skill does, to be honest. And C4 seems ridiculous since it's 45% of Yanfei's max HP, which is higher than Zhongli's skill scaling at level 9. C5 I don't know what it does, and C6 seems like a pretty good constellation if you use a charge attack a lot, which I guess you do. So if you're at C0 or C5, you might want to get C1 or C6 for Yanfei. That's probably a good idea. Finally, we have Yunjin. This is definitely Yunjin, by the way, because counter, yeah. So we don't know what constellations are, but the character looks cool and has a counter like Beidou right here, and you can probably replace Beidou in a Hu Tao comp, I think. And if none of the other characters are worth it for you, and you don't want to spend your pre-mage on pushing for Yunjin since she's not guaranteed, she might be a good pick. So personally, I'm gonna either go for Xingqiu, Ningguang, Yanfei, or Yunjin, but I don't know who yet. Anyway, if you're still here, you might as well subscribe, it's free. I make Genshin content somewhat regularly, and I have a lot of videos planned. I only need the motivation to record them and edit them now. So subscribe to boost my ego. Anyway, that is the end of this video. Like, sub, dislike, comment for the algorithm. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.